Spike Lee is here. His films have ranged from Do the Right Thing and Malcolm X to documentaries like the Academy Award-nominated Four Little Girls. His latest work is another true story about the life of Jim Brown, considered by many to be one of the greatest football players ever to play the game. When he retired, his name still earned headlines for his acting, activism, and arrest. Here is a look at Jim Brown, All-American.
Stop it. Biting, talking, cursing, kicking in very private areas, mentally affecting him, mentally trying to dominate him. But after a while, Ben Schwartzwalder and all the people at Syracuse figured out, hey, we might not understand what this is, who this is. We got to give him the rock. And they did, and the rest became more than history.
I'm pleased to have Spike Lee here to talk about this Jim Brown film. First of all, what is it about documentaries? I mean, do you have a special affinity for making documentaries?
Well, I consider myself a filmmaker. And for me, filmmaking is not only feature films, documentaries, commercials, music videos, and short films. For me, that's what cinema is.
So it doesn't matter what, I mean, what you are as a filmmaker.
I'm a filmmaker.
You'll make films to advertise products, you'll make
Right.
films that reflect somebody's real life,
Right.
and you'll also make films that are
Fantasy.
fantasy. Yeah. But do you love feature more than anything else, or what?
I mean, yeah, that's my bread and butter, but
Right.
I really don't try to put stuff in compartments. It's just, for me, it all comes under the umbrella of cinema.
Okay, you've done two documentaries that I know about.
Right.
All right, one is the Four Little Girls,
Right.
nominated for an Academy Award. Tragic story of what happened in the South when a church was bombed and four beautiful young girls were killed. Now Jim Brown. I mean, is there
a connection between the two?
Is there a sense that you want to look at important aspects of African American life and tell those stories?
Well, I mean, that's a small part of it, but I really just do stuff that that's interesting to me. And after Four Little Girls, I've been thinking about, what I want to continue to do documentaries. And I did a film called He Got Game, starring Denzel Washington, Ray Allen, and Jim Brown was in it. And that's where I really began to know Jim. And that's where it clicked to me that this complex man, his life would be, it's a great subject matter for a documentary.
All right, let's take a look at some of the clips from this film. First of all, this is this wonderful technique he had. He always got up slow.
Right.
Because if he was hurting, he didn't want you to know he was hurting, so he
Exactly.
got up slow every time. Roll tape.
You get somebody say, oh, he's hurt.
Jim always got up in such a way that you didn't know whether he was hurt or not.
He might be hurt. Maybe he's hurt.
Just get up slow all the time. That way, when you're really hurt and you're dying, they don't know.
Then the next play, boom, he came back at you as harder than he did the last time.
He'd run 40 yards again.
That was pure Brad Rabbit, you understand what I mean?
That has an effect on you.
Boy, what a cast of people you got talking about Jim Brown.
Hank Aaron, Melvin Van Peebles, Raquel Welch.
The last one we saw. Yeah, Raquel Welch.
Mike Francesca, WFAN, Ralph Wiley, Bill Rhoden, New York Times. Oliver Stone.
What is it that made Jim Brown a phenomenal athlete?
Well, it's really two things. He had the physical tools, but his intellect, and that's one thing I felt that we really wanted to convey in this film. For far too often, with black athletes, people don't acknowledge the intellect. Like, we come out of the room dunking, come out of the room running 9.6, 100-yard dashes, come out of the room and hitting 800 homers. No. We had the physical, but there's intellect there. And Jim Brown, not only was he the greatest football player, but he was also the smartest one. That's something we really wanted to cover.
Jim is the smartest football player that you know about, that's among the good players. Intellect.
Great
It's not just how to play the game.
Yes, and same thing, I mean, we just go Michael Jordan, Willie Mays, they just, oh, these guys just kick a jump. But it's the intellect. Mike is the smartest player. I mean, but, far too often, it's not everybody, far too often, the intellect of African-American athletes is not talked about. They're just like these beasts with these great physical talents, and there's no intellect behind it.
What do you think he regrets about his life, if anything?
Well, I think that, number one, he has deep regrets about his children.
Because there was a distance, there was an emotional connection.
Right. A lot of them, he wasn't there.
Disconnect.
Also, one of his son, Kevin, is a recovering addict. And so that's why he's really is. It was very poignant for us to end the film with the birth of his new son, and he said he's going to make sure that he's going to be there for him, where he was not really there for the rest of the children.
I should make this point. Originally, Jim Brown was going to be with us.
Yes.
He can't be with us because
Right.
he's
In the Huskow.
in the Huskow
Ventura County Jail, I think it is.
jail.
Right.
Yeah, he's serving 6 months.
Right.
Because he refused to undergo counseling.
And
He refused to what?
pick up garbage on the highway.
Make good work or something.
Well, the judge felt that the best way to utilize Jim Brown's resources is to pick up garbage on the highway. And Jim is a very proud person, and he felt to be dehumanizing to do that. So he said, I'm not doing that, and I'd rather
Take the time.
so he's taking 6 months.
That doesn't surprise you at all, does it?
It does not. It's consistent with his character. The reason why he's in jail, which we have at the end of the film, his new wife, Monique, they had a fight,
Yeah.
and he took a shovel to her car and broke the windshield.
Now, why would he do that?
He was mad. I
Well,
can't, I mean,
But
look,
you've
I
got to
can't-
know him. I'm asking you
can't-
to explain that aspect, the way
man-
you can explain the brilliance of his intellect
he
as
has,
an athlete.
He has anger issues.
Rage.
Anger. Rage, yes.
But that's a nice, neat little definition.
What
Anger issues.
Yes.
What
He
are
has-
they?
He has trouble controlling his anger. Simple like that. So he took
But does it come from race? Does it come from, or does it come simply from relationship? Does it come from a view of women? Does
I
it come?
can't-
I'd
I
ask
can't
all
answer
these
that.
questions to him if he was sitting here.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry he's not here.
I am
That's
too.
something I can't answer.
No.
But he took
But come on,
shovel.
you-
Let me finish.
you-
He took a
okay.
shovel to the windshield, broke the windshield, and he was not found guilty of the charge against his wife, but guilty of damaging property, his own property. So it just seems to me that with all the work that Jim did, especially during it depending on the word you want to use, uprisings or riot to L.A., Jim kept many buildings from being burned down or many lives lost. Continued the works with the Bloods and the Crips. The best way to utilize Jim Brown as for the service for the county, Los Angeles, have him picking up.
Absolutely not.
I mean, it's crazy.
It doesn't take a brain surgeon to figure that out. You go to certain links in this film to show that the old story about him and the woman being tossed out the second floor, I guess it
Right.
was,
Eva Bonchen.
didn't happen the way it was assumed at the time.
No, that's not true, Charlie. What we do is, number one, there are only two
What's
people.
not true?
What you just said.
You're saying it
No.
didn't happen the way...
No, here's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Two people, the only two people in the room were Jim Brown and Eva Bonchen. Jim has his story. We tried, it took us 4 or 5 months to track this lady down. We found her in Munich, Germany, sent a crew there, filmed her. So we cut back and forth, her version of what happened and his version. And we leave it up to the audience to decide
What do you think happened?
It looks bad. She says he came towards her, and next thing she knew, she was in the hospital. Jim says she was trying to help him out so the cops wouldn't, when the cops were coming in, so she was trying to climb down the balcony and fell.
Come on.
Doesn't look good. Doesn't look good.
You think she was thrown out?
It looks
on.
that way. It looks that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when do you tell him it looks that way or not?
I mean, he's seen the film. We discussed that.
And what did he
you
say
know?
now? After he says, "Brother, you're wrong."
No, he says, Spike, well, you're entitled to your opinion.
Is that what he said? Yeah.
But the thing about it, though, Jim doesn't care what people think anyway. I mean, that's just the way I've never met a person who's so knowledgeable of self. So, I mean, he's had, also, he was very, he left this up to me to make the film in no way, shape, or form he ever tried to direct me any other way.
I read a couple of reviews of this, and one said that they thought you wasn't balanced enough, wasn't tough enough. And you're saying, and then another one I thought said, "Gee, 4 stars." I'm not sure which one I read.
I think that we were very balanced. I think that number one,
Obviously, you went all the way over to Germany to find
Jim
this
Brown
woman.
is known for 2 things: being the best football player ever, and the asterisk. Yeah, he's the guy that threw the lady over the balcony.
Right.
So if that's the 2 things he's known for, And we put in the effort and the time to find this lady in Munich, Germany. She's never even been on camera before ever to talk about the incident. And we put what her reenactment, her recollection, what happened in the film, how are we being, you know, how are we slacking up on Jim? You know, I just don't understand that.
Okay. Is there anything that can be said as to this guy of enormous power, physical, mental,
Right.
confidence? Did he live up to his potential?
What arena are you talking about?
Well, clearly in sports he did. I mean, he was,
Right.
many say, the greatest player to ever play the game.
Right.
There's not been a better running back than Jim Brown.
Well, I think he would tell you that he did not live up to what he could have done as far as being a husband and
Well,
a
I'm not
father.
even talking about that. That's clear. That there's some problems there.
And his treatment of women. I mean, he has acknowledged that.
So then that's the rest of his life. What he started as an actor.
Right.
He still does some acting.
Now and then, right now, he's really devoted to his organization, Mayor I Can,
Yeah.
which has contracts with various prisons, state prisons across the country, where they try to redirect inmates into a more productive American citizens, more productive life, and his new wife and his new child. His child was just born is 4 months old, so he's six years old. So you know, he says right now. He says he's at a place where he's never been before, so he's very happy up until he got put in the Hooskow.
Hooskow. Roll tape. Here's a clip of Jim Brown talking about his work with prisoners.
You need the program. I said, oh, really? Yeah. So my ears opened up. We put a plan together. Ohio bought into it. And kids that are in this program get to express their feelings. They get to learn about self-esteem, attitude, work ethics, responsibility, respect. Jimmy's opened this up.
Let me finally raise this point. When I talked about a potential, I really meant that here was a guy who would seem to me could have had a more satisfying, fulfilling, successful movie career than he did.
Right.
Why didn't he? Because he got in trouble? Because what?
I think
Focus?
it was his perception. I think that the roles he accepted, the roles he was pushed into, and I also think that Hollywood has problems with a black man that don't take no mess and is intimidated by that. And therefore, I mean, you look at Dirty Dozen, a lot of films.
Right, but that was when he was 29 years old. He was one of the Dirty Dozen.
Right, but then, you know, he started getting a lot of B-roll, stuff like that, or B-movies. So I don't think he really reached his, I think he's a good actor. I mean, I've used him, Oliver Stone used him on Any Given Sunday, and he was great in that film. So I really think he's a good actor. It's just that the material and the opportunity has not really come so we could really, his best was not really able to show.
That's the nature of the business, isn't
Right.
it? All right, let me talk about two films. One, Come Rain or Come Shine. We'll see a clip from that. Tell me about that. This is your film.
Well, this is a short film that I made along with several other New York filmmakers for the concert for New York. It was at Madison Square Garden after the September 11th disaster. And I had been a big Yankees fan, and during playoff time, World Series, I always have my little Sony camera, just go on the field pregame and shoot stuff. And they came to me and said, why don't you make up something? So I said, I cut this stuff together for the concert.
Roll tape. Here it is, a clip from Come Rain or Come Shine.
Right.
There's magic for you.
Right. And I...
Because this was shot not knowing you'd ever use it.
Nah, it's usually shot just archival stuff and saying, I don't know where I'm going to use it, but one day. So that's really a culmination of like 3 or 4 World Series, and you know.
Why that soundtrack?
That's a great Ray Charles.
I know, my man.
Ray Charles. And when I shot that, it didn't look like at that time the Yankees were behind. It didn't look. Everybody was saying, no way in the world the Yankees are going back to World Series, but they made it.
Great to have you here.
All right, always. You're the best.
Thank you. Spike Lee, Jim Brown, All-American. Jim Brown, an extraordinary guy, and Spike captures it. Complex, difficult to understand, multifaceted, but still a force. Thank you for joining us. See you next time.